Once you complete part 3 of this training, you will be able to close the pay period and process your payroll. Let's pull up iSolved and start looking at the close pay period process. On the left-hand side, I'm going to choose Payroll Processing and Close Pay Period. When using iSolved Time, a new process must be followed in order to transfer the time from the time cards into our time entry grid. There is also a new way to preview and process your payroll. For your convenience, we have added the Preview and Process options to our Close Pay Period screen rather than having to click the individual links on the left-hand side. Now, there are 4 steps to actually processing your payroll when using iSolved Time. There are 4 buttons listed along the left-hand side, and that is Lock Time Cards, Commit Time Cards, Preview Payroll, and Process Payroll. So let's talk about each of them. Locking the time cards is the first thing that you're going to do. By hitting the Lock Time Cards option, you're taking all of the time card data and locking it so that adjustments can no longer be made. Now, in the event that you lock the time cards and you've got a supervisor running into your office to tell you it's locked, I need to make adjustments, you can simply hit the Unlock Time Cards and you'll notice it says time cards are now unlocked. So you can lock and unlock them at any time as long as payroll has not been processed. So once again, I'm going to hit Lock Time Cards, and let's talk about our second step, Commit Time Cards. Commit Time Cards is where we actually take the time card data and push it to our time entry grid. So rather than having to key things into the grid like we typically do, or even import hours into the time entry grid, Commit, when I click it, is going to grab all of the information from the time cards and push them into the time entry grid. Now you'll notice down at the bottom we've got some time card processing errors. There are 2 listed. The first one says there is unverified time for 1 or more employees. Please review the verification export for detailed information. So when we set my demo client up, we said that we wanted the employees, the managers, and the supervisors to sign off on the time cards. So this is just letting me know that at least 1 employee does not have their time card verified. The second error that's on there is uncommitted time in a previous payroll run that will be committed in this process. To proceed, remove prior data or select Ignore Warnings. So this is letting me know that from a previous pay period, something was added. Maybe we approved a time off request, or it was even just testing information that didn't get locked with the previous pay period. So it's just letting us know it's going to lock that information so it cannot be edited anymore. Now, if we'd like to look at that verification report, like it says, please review the verification export, you'll notice we have time card preview results listed here. So we can go in and look at the verification export to see whose time card was not verified. We can even run the uncommitted time report to see what time was uncommitted. What are they talking about when they said there's uncommitted time that's going to be committed? These reports allow you to see iSolved time-related data before processing your payroll. Now we're going to say that we looked at our verification, everybody looks great, and we're going to move on to previewing the payroll. Now, because there are errors, we do have to either click the Ignore Warnings, which when I selected it says checking Ignore Warnings will allow the time cards to be committed even when there are warnings. So it's saying even though the time card's not verified, we're going to commit the time to the time entry grid. And any time that was uncommitted in the previous runs will also be committed during this process. So Ignore Warnings to bypass our notifications. And then when we hit Preview Payroll at the bottom, we're going to get a list of our Preview Payroll reports, our Payroll Registry, our Payroll Summary. These are all reports that I highly recommend you run to ensure that all of the data is correct before we actually process our payroll. So you'll notice on this right-hand side, we've got a list of our preview reports. We can see our summary, our register, any exceptions, checks, labor allocation detail, any of the reports that you have scheduled would show up here. Now, At this point, you can jump to the time entry grid and make any one-off changes that you need to. So I know that sometimes we go to the time entry grid if we have additional deductions that need to be taken out or anything else that needs to be withheld from the employee. You can still go to payroll entry and the time entry grid to make your adjustments if necessary. We'll notice that our hours from our time cards have been committed to the time entry grid, so we can already see the data that's been added, but you can come in here and make any adjustments that you need to. Once you make your adjustments, you're going to want to go back to our close pay period link on the left-hand side. I would preview your payroll again prior to us actually processing the payroll. Once you've double-checked those payroll reports, all we have to do is simply hit Process Payroll, and you'll notice up at the top it's saying, this payroll may have uncommitted time data. Are you sure you want to process it? So again, it's notifying you of our error at the bottom. We can hit Continue, and then we've just got one last step. Please review the payroll summary, the payroll register, the exception report, and any other reports needed to check accuracy of this payroll. So again, this is just another checkpoint to say, did you run your preview reports? Are you sure you're ready to run payroll? If you're ready to run, we simply check the I verify that I have checked all appropriate reports and the payroll is accurate to the best of my knowledge. And then we simply hit Process Payroll. You'll notice down here at the bottom it's spinning and telling me my payroll is in process. And up here at the top it says payroll number 3 has been processed. Your reports will be available shortly. And that's the process of closing the pay period within iSolve Time. So all of your same rules apply. The only difference is rather than importing or manually adding time to the time entry grid, we're committing the time from the time cards, we're previewing, and we're processing the payroll all in one screen. I have completed part 3 of this training.